I'm like, hello, will you please come on my podcast and tell me how to use Zoom? Welcome to Love What Luck. Thank you so much for coming on.
I'm so excited to be here.
We've been trying to do this for a while. And for the listeners, we haven't spoken, again, it's like when I interviewed Amy, we haven't spoken or seen each other for 15 years.
15 years.
Which is crazy. But I reached out because I've seen a couple of your posts on Instagram that have really hooked me in, and obviously I'm really interested and would love to talk about those. But you were obviously into relationships as well. So do you want to tell us basically what you do?
Yeah, of course. I'm an attachment trauma specialist. So I work specifically with people that struggle in relationships, whether it be that they feel very anxious or they fall into codependency, or they are avoiding relationships because they have a fear of intimacy. I work with people that experience both, which is what we call the fearful avoidant, where they feel quite unsafe in relationships. So yeah, I will work with anyone where relationships are just a struggle. It's just hard, whether they feel like they lose themselves and they feel anxious and they make their partner their whole world. And their be all and end all is to find a partner and keep the partner, and everything else in their life kind of falls apart. Or you got the more avoidant people who they don't necessarily avoid relationships, they avoid getting too intimate. So what that means is they may prefer situationships or casual things, or if they do end up getting married, they're still kind of having their partner in arm's length because they fear that they'll have their freedom taken away from them, or if they show too much emotion that they are going to get hurt in some way. So anyone that struggles to be in relationships or in the dating world.
And do you find that people can feel like this even if they're in sort of, good relationships? Because this is something I looked into quite recently, actually. I came across relationship OCD and I kind of resonated with that. And I think sometimes, and obviously when you see one thing on TikTok, then it feeds your algorithm with lots of videos. And I think sometimes you can feel a certain way in relationships and you can think it's the relationship. So like you said then, if you're worried about your freedom being taken away or something, I think sometimes you can almost put the blame or think the cause is on the other person, which sometimes is the case. But do you feel like people come to you and they're actually in, probably quite healthy relationships, but their issues then affect the relationship?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's when I'll say, like, that's when you really know what attachment style you're working with. Because if you are with someone who's more on the secure side and is more healthy, but you're still feeling anxious and feeling afraid that they're going to leave you, or you're afraid that they're going to take away your freedom, so you start to sabotage it. And this happened to me. I was in a relationship with someone who was pretty secure, but I was doubting it all the time. I'm like, but why is he choosing me? Like, why me? Because I had this unworthiness wound, right? So then I would test him. I would test his love because I didn't believe intrinsically that I was worth this man choosing me, even though I was so desperate to be chosen in general. So I would test it. And because he was so calm, I wanted to create a little bit of drama, because when you're anxiously attached, you are a little bit addicted to the dopamine and the cortisol that comes with the push and pull dynamics of more anxious and avoidant relationships. So I was causing drama. I was starting arguments just to have that intensity, because I was mistaking intensity with intimacy. So if things are just fine, I'd be like, I'm bored. I need to shake this up a little bit. So that's when we know that we're actually dealing with an insecure attachment style, and we're still feeling that type of way, even though our partner's not, quote unquote, triggering it. Because a lot of people would misdiagnose themselves, if you will, as being anxious in relationships or avoidant. But actually what's happening is they've just got an insecure partner. So if you've got more of an avoidant partner who's constantly pulling away and never returning your texts, of course you're going to be anxious. Even the most secure people will feel anxious when someone's pulling away in or blaming them or gaslighting them, or is becoming more of on a toxic relationship then. So what we tend to do is we try to control it. And the best way to control it is to look at ourselves. Oh, it must be my fault, because if it's my fault, I can fix it. I can change myself in order to accommodate them and put their needs before mine. So people actually are in insecure, unhealthy relationships, and they think they're the problem when it's not the case.
This is very, very helpful. And I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. Now, when you say that if you're feeling maybe a little bit bored, or if people feel a little bit, bored or kind of safe in a relationship, and if they're addicted to the bit of drama, is it always the drama that they're addicted to, or is it also the kind of making up after that? Does that come into it? Because I can imagine, like, if you argue with somebody, a lot of the times after that comes a making up and, an apology and then a closeness again. So people can probably kind of be addicted to that as well.
I mean, it's all encompassing. From the beginning to the end, right? That's just the end of the drama, if you will. That's the repair. So they will cause drama, they will cause arguments and cause friction in order to get to that part where they are, it's intoxicating and you're making up and it feels like I was just about to lose you and I was so afraid. And this is when we mistake intensity for intimacy. We're trying to create intensity and we think it's intimacy when it's not. And that becomes addictive. I want to feel that intensity all the time, when the reality of it is we have the honeymoon phase in relationships, and then people start to feel comfortable with each other and they get settled in the relationship. And that's when people start to feel like they lose the spark, or they've come out of the honeymoon and they start questioning the relationship and, is this really for me? And it's always kind of at the 6-month mark that people will start to feel more comfortable. And I think most relationships go through this. And I think that's on the couple to keep things alive in the way that feels right for them.
Yeah, I definitely struggled with that in my relationship now. And we actually broke up and then we've recently got back together. And it was the first partner I lived with, and we moved in quite quickly. And I remember feeling like I thought that when you moved in with somebody, it was always going to be exciting, and just I had such an idea in my head of what it was going to be like. And then, of course, eventually you do get comfortable. It's quite normal. And but like what you're saying there, I definitely relate to. And I wish, obviously, you do this type of therapy. I wish I had gone. I mean, I've been in therapy a little while, but I wish I had done it kind of when or just before I got into that relationship, because it was like a serious relationship. Instead, we broke up and then I did it. And now it's great, because now I can look back and I can see so many things, that I used to do, and he went to therapy as well. So we both worked on ourselves. But I'm like, if I had known, this type of stuff before, I probably would have been able to recognise it. When you're in there, you don't really realise. And it's really interesting. So I'm really glad we're chatting, because I'm hoping that if somebody is feeling like I felt before in relationships and they're listening to this, I feel like it could be really helpful to catch themselves before getting too lost in it, because it can definitely ruin a relationship.
Absolutely, it can. And that's just human psychology, isn't it? Like, we have to wait till things get worse or bad until we start to take action and make changes. It's always the case. You'd think most of my clientele are in relationships. They're not. They're going through breakups. That's when they start to come to me. And that's when they're like, oh, shit, like, am I allowed to swear? Like, oh, it's like crap, I've lost this person, I've screwed it up, they've screwed it up as well, and we've screwed it up, and now we need to make the changes.
Can I also ask, what is intimacy to you? Or to you, and also maybe what is healthy intimacy?
I love this question. Intimacy for me is really knowing and understanding this person, like, to their core, like knowing things that are not pretty to know. Like, we're so ready to open up to people and let them see the bright side of us and see all the good side and the positive traits. Whereas when you have that really good friend, you know, we can do it with friends, not just romantic partners, or a family member or the romantic partner who has seen that side of you. I think there's like a famous Marilyn Monroe quote, right? It's like, choose the partner who have seen the worst side of you and is still with you, because that's what intimacy is. It's like this person has seen all these parts of you and they are still there. They're working with you through them. Now, that's not to say that you should be showing all your worst parts and they should accept it. But it's if you can move through them together, if you can move through like really uncomfortable conflict together, that's what creates intimacy. That's what creates authentic connection, not sex. Not like sex can create intimacy, don't get me wrong. But a lot of us think that if I just sleep with them, that's going to make us know each other so well and we're going to be so intimate and, you know, and know this. And I've been with people where I've just met them and I think that I know them already so well.
Or you know people, they've gone on a first date and they're like, we're the same person.
Yeah,
And like,
exactly. Like, no. I think it takes time to build intimacy. And there's different types of intimacy. There's physical intimacy. That's what people normally think it is. But there's also emotional intimacy. I've been in relationships where the physical intimacy has been 10 out of 10, but emotional intimacy has been low. And I'm an emotional person. I think a lot of women are. We need emotional intimacy. We need to feel seen, understood, and heard by our partner and our friends. And you know, they if we don't feel that, we'll feel like something's missing. Like this person is not meeting us on an emotional level, whether they are not expressing themselves emotionally with you, or they don't have the capacity and space to hold your emotions, or to really see you in your vulnerability, because vulnerability also creates intimacy. So with the more avoidantly attached people, when they are too afraid to be vulnerable, they're too afraid to show emotions or to talk about their you know, deep stuff, they're in the depths, their insecurities, their childhood, whatever it is, they are too afraid to be vulnerable, therefore intimacy is not being created. So I think that's what I mean when people mistake intensity, like the whole, oh my God, I have to have you now. And oh my, you know, like you're my person. Let's get married tomorrow in Las Vegas. A lot of people mistake that for intimacy. But you also have spiritual intimacy as well. So you have to align spiritually. I'm a very spiritual person. And if I date someone who's not spiritually inclined, they're more of an atheist or an agnostic, it doesn't match me. It doesn't match. And the intimacy is not there. Intellectual intimacy, being able to have those really in-depth, exciting, you know, conversations around things that you're really passionate about, that also creates intimacy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think, obviously, just relaying it back to my own problems now. I think I've definitely struggled with the vulnerable side before, even with friends or friendships, until I get. I mean, you know, I've got best friends that have known me for 20 years. Obviously, I'm fine with those now. But, you know, with a newer type of friendship, it will take me... It's weird because I feel like I'm an open book. But of course, there are some stuff that's a bit deeper. And in relationships as well, I have felt in the past a little bit afraid to be that way, because when you first get with somebody, you're putting on your best show, really, aren't you? You know, everything is great and things go wrong and you're like, oh, fine, doesn't matter. And then obviously over time, you get hurt by those things. And for me, it's like crossing that line of, I'm hurt and now I'm going to tell you. That was another big realisation I had. I did an episode on it where I used to think if you were hurt or upset by something that your partner did, I used to think that telling them made you weak. I used to think, like, I shouldn't be bothered by this. I shouldn't care if you've, I don't know, liked a photo, or if you have gone out tonight and we had plans, or you're late, or whatever it might be. I used to think I shouldn't be hurt by that because I'm confident in myself and that doesn't matter. So then if I used to get hurt by something, I would never say. Or with friends, if they upset me for something, if they cancelled a plan, I wouldn't say. And now I've come to realise that I think if you are upset by something and you go to that person and you tell them, look, you've done this and it's upset me, I think that shows such confidence. And that's been like such a switch in me since going to therapy.
Oh, that actually shows that you're secure in yourself enough to come to this person and express that you're feeling hurt by their actions. And yeah, it takes a lot of bravery, it takes a lot of confidence, and it takes a lot of work to get to that spot as well. And it makes a difference, because when people think about, oh, I'm going to tell this person that they hurt me, there's a difference between telling this person and making it their problem. Like, look what you did. Now I feel like this way. It's your fault. You're a bad person. We're not saying this, but this is what we're inclining with our energy. And then expressing to them as if it's your experience. It's like, when you liked that girl's photo, it made me feel insecure. It made me feel quite insecure. And I just wanted to express that and let you know that this is what's happening within me. And I wonder if we could talk about it. It's our problem now. It's our thing to work through. There's a difference. And that's what creates intimacy and deep connection, is being vulnerable.
And then I suppose you can see then from how your partner reacts, if they're a good match. If somebody is defensive and they're like, oh, I don't know why you feel like that, doesn't mean anything, or you shouldn't be upset over stuff like that. Or if they are, oh, sorry, that actually, if they've got an explanation or whatever, and they like, actually didn't realise that would upset you, I won't do it again. Lovely. Great.
And again, it depends how secure they are, right? Because if they are feeling a bit insecure, or they're more on the anxious or definitely the avoidant side, they will get defensive, they'll deflect, they'll make it your problem. Like, this is not my problem, this is a you problem. You should work through your insecurities. Like, that's going to create friction and disconnection. But when someone's like, oh, okay, I hear you, I hear this hurt you, and I do apologize, maybe they'll have an explanation, or they'll get curious. I really want to understand what's going on with you. Can you tell me a little bit more about why this upset you? And then you can start to have that conversation. That is like, oh, chef's kiss, like the best.
That's what we want. Okay, so I'll get a little bit personal. So when you said you were in a healthy relationship and you kind of felt like you were insecure, is that what ended the relationship? Like, how did that end?
Yes and no. I feel like it was ongoing. So it wasn't something that I was actively looking at. I was aware of it, but I didn't really know how to manage it. And if anything, I blamed him a little bit as well. I was like, well, if you just did it this way, I wouldn't feel like that. I would make it his problem sometimes, rather than seeing that this is actually something that goes a bit deeper. And it really did catapult me into the attachment trauma journey, and hence why I'm here today, helping others through it. Yeah, because of that relationship, because I noticed upon my reflections, I really did struggle in that relationship. I didn't enjoy it. I was just exhausted. Every time we were apart, I was anxious and I was worried. Is he cheating on me? Where is he? What's he doing? Oh my God, he's not responding. And I was just overwhelmed with the overthinking that he's going to find someone better than me. So I couldn't relax and I couldn't feel safe in that relationship, even though he was doing his best to make me feel safe. He was giving me all the reassurance. He was giving me all the validation, but I would throw it back in his face. He's like, you're so beautiful. I love you. Why would I want to go with anyone else? I'm like, oh, you're just saying that. You're just saying that because I'm feeling this way. He couldn't win.
No, it just shows it doesn't matter what anybody else says. You've got to feel it in yourself.
Yeah, and he would feed this back to me. He'd be like, I feel like I can't win. I feel like whatever I say and do is not good enough, and it's not going to make you feel, okay, maybe this is something that you need to look at a bit deeper. Of course, I took that personally as well. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What are you trying to say? And he's like, oh my God.
I heard an interview with Brené Brown the other week. She's amazing, isn't she? And she said that her marriage almost ended, and she went to a therapist and she was like, I can't do this. And it was like 6 months into it, and her therapist said something like, it must be really difficult for you to meet somebody who loves you like more than you love yourself or something. And she was like, and she said she even got annoyed with the therapist. She was like, you were gone. But actually,
Yeah, it can be really triggering. It can be really triggering for us anxiously attached people because someone wants to show up for us. Someone is so ready to meet our needs and love us the way that we're so desperately craving to be loved, but it's not familiar. That's the problem. We're not used to it. So because it feels unfamiliar and foreign, we can't accept it and we throw it back. It's like you're not fitting the ideal of what I think a relationship should look like. And this comes from childhood. This could come from the way that your parents were, where you observed your parents in relationship, or it could come from the attachment conditioning that you went through. For example, if you are anxiously attached, chances are you had a childhood where your needs were not consistently met and you had to adapt to that. So you had a certain coping mechanism or survival mechanism back then in order to get the love and attention that you needed as a child. For example, like proving, I need to prove myself. I need to be perfect. And when I'm perfect, that's when I get praise. And that's when I get love. If I do something bad, I get love withdrawn. That is now our default. That's what we think subconsciously relationships should look like. So when we are met with someone who doesn't make us feel bad for making a mistake or doesn't require us to sacrifice ourselves or prove ourselves in order to have their love, we're like, what the hell is this? This is like, excuse me, coming at me with all your love. Like I'm like, oh, and it feels uncomfortable, even if you're not aware of it subconsciously. That's what's happening, and this is the problem.
Probably are aware of it because it comes from your childhood, and you've just grown up, and you feel that's just the way you are, and so you're not going to recognize it.
Yeah, it's all happening in the subconscious until we can bring it all up to the awareness and we can start to deal with those patterns and conditioning as well. But this is part of the problem as to why, if you're anxious or avoidant or both, we don't necessarily choose secure, healthy partners because of that very reason. It doesn't feel familiar. How many of us, I'm guilty of this, go on dates with men and they're nice and kind and respectful, and we're like, he's just too nice. I'm just not feeling anything. I'm not feeling any spark. Like I don't have those butterflies. Like I just don't know. Nah, I'm gonna friend zone him. And the nice men are like, like what? I can't win.
Interesting as well, when we were on about growing up, one of the big things that I discovered was when I was younger, my mother in particular, she will praise me for absolutely anything. She's my biggest cheerleader. She's constantly telling me basically how amazing I am, right? Which is lovely. But growing up then, whenever I was in a situation where I wasn't getting told, like in work, how good a job I was doing, if a boyfriend didn't tell me I looked stunning today, automatically my brain would be like, they don't like me, they don't think I'm good enough, they don't want me. So even if sometimes obviously it can come from bad experiences, but I've also realised that it's generally just like how you're loved, basically, isn't it? Like how you're shown love. So that's like something like, I'm like, just because, even like if it's my boss or something, just because nobody is telling me I'm doing amazing doesn't mean that I'm doing awful and they hate me and they don't want me here anymore. People think things all the time, they don't always say them. So that's,
It's so true. We become dependent on external validation when that's, like you said, you've been so used to it. Your mother, has done an amazing job in praising you and like making sure that you know how amazing you are. But the shadow side of that is you've become used to it. That's how you've been conditioned. So now, unless I have a partner who's doing exactly the same as that, I'm going to question it. I'm going to doubt it. I'm going to maybe cause drama and friction. So I get that. So you will do anything that it takes to get what you are used to.
Yeah. I'm also interested to know if you work with men, because when you were saying there about how you felt insecure before if your partner went out, I've been in controlling relationships before where they've hated me going out, basically. And it's obviously, now I can see so clearly, it's obviously because they were feeling insecure and they were worried I was going to cheat on them. They didn't feel good enough about themselves. However, I feel like I feel like girls can admit that, even if it's not to the partner, they know themselves and they might talk about their friends where they say, I'm worried he's doing something. And it's quite a normalised thing. Men, I don't think, do that. And the way they deal with it is usually more aggressive. It's usually you at fault. I feel like this might be bad. It might be anti-feminist or whatever. But I feel like if a woman is insecure about their boyfriend going out, she still feels bad on herself. If it's a boy that feels bad about their girlfriend going out, the problem is on the girl. You know, they completely deflect and they'll talk down. It's like when they make comments about what you're wearing before you go out, or you hear, why are you wearing makeup? Why are you doing that? Because I just feel like are they even aware that they're insecure? And do you have men that come to you for this, or is it mainly women?
No, I do work with men.
Okay.
Mostly I'm anxiously attached men, but I have had an avoidant man as well. And in terms of, I mean, yeah, it's exactly the same problem as women go through, where they're feeling insecure and they
Yeah.
fear that this person is going to find someone better and they're going to cheat and they're going to leave them. It all comes down to this fear of abandonment. But like you said, women deal with it in a different way to men. Some are conscious, some are not. It's difficult to say whether they are conscious of it or not. But the thing is, with men, they are more driven by their ego. So anything to make the ego feel better. So this will then mean, let me control what she's wearing, how she's looking, or you need to be calling me every hour. This is what they do, it so they feel safe. That's what it all comes down to, because I'm so afraid that you were going to find someone better than me because I feel insecure about myself. I need to control. I need to control.
Yeah.
And maybe some women resonate with this as well. I need to control
Yeah.
this person's behavior and whereabouts to feel safe. So what I want to say is sometimes, and it is only sometimes, it's not done from a nasty side. You know, like some people
Yeah.
are very aware that they are controlling and manipulative, and that's how they want to present in relationships. But some, you know, they control because it's a protective mechanism. They don't mean to be nasty or controlling or possessive or jealous, but it's so overwhelming for the nervous system. It's almost like a reactive response.
Yeah.
And they're saying and doing the things before they're even aware of it, because their neocortex, our logical brain, is turned offline because we feel so unsafe with this person going out looking like that. Like, you look absolutely incredible, but I feel so unsafe now because I feel like you're going to cheat on me or you're going to find someone else. So they are reacting from their emotional brain.
Honestly, if everybody listened to this episode and if everybody went to therapy, because as I said before, when you're in it, you really can't tell, even if you're the other side of it. Sometimes I think it's so hard to see it. Like, now I know if I was with somebody and they were like, what are you doing? I would say, I know you're feeling insecure. Like, I would be able to deal with it, you know, I'd understand it. Whereas, I mean, early on, I used to think, oh my God, he loves me so much. That was when I was younger. I was like, my first boyfriend was like that. And I had another two after him. And I was like, he loves me so much. And then when I started going with partners that were okay with me going out and completely fine, I would be thinking, oh, maybe he doesn't care about losing me. Which is not not great. Obviously, I'm not there anymore. But or even when I was in at the time, I never understood why they did it. It was just always an argument. You know, I'd be like, I'm not doing anything, so why can't you see that? And it just comes from a lack of understanding, I think, both sides.
Oh my God, you made such a good point, where we start to excuse the possessiveness and the jealousy is like, oh, he must love me so much. Like, this is why he is the way he is. And we almost interpret that again as love, you know, there's that, but really it's control. And we don't see that. Like, hindsight is, you know, a beautiful thing where we have to go through the experience in order to come out the other side in order to see it. But I used to see this a lot. Like, like it's in Wales, you know, where we grew up. Like you just see
Yes.
couples fighting and arguing, and then they have this crazy intense makeup, and it's like, oh, we just love each other so much. This is why we do it. This is why
I do
we're
feel like
so
it's bigger in
controlling.
Wales. What is that? I definitely feel that. It's definitely not as bad when I went to London. I don't know if it's because, I don't know, because,
Yeah.
people have different experiences when they go to the city, and when you're in a smaller town, things are a
Mm-hmm.
little bit
Mm-hmm.
more intense. But
Yeah, it's a cultural
definitely
thing
it's
as
been
well. I
here.
think sometimes small town culture. Yeah.
Yeah.
And why we don't see it while we're in it is because, like I said, our logical brain is turned off. We're just in a
Mm.
constant sympathetic state, meaning we're just constantly on guard and
It's
in our
horrible,
fight or
isn't it?
flight, and we're constantly dysregulated. So when we are in this state of feeling unsafe or anxious or avoidant in relationships, our logical brain's offline. It's not operating. It's only
Yeah.
when maybe the relationship has ended and we come away from it and we take space and we start to heal, our neocortex comes online again, and we're like, what the hell was that? How did I put up with that for so long? Like, why did I react that way? And then
Yeah.
all those questions start to come up.
Do you know, this is years ago, right? Because it was when Cheryl Cole was with Ashley Cole, okay? Not the best example because we all know what happened there. But I always remember an interview with Piers Morgan. I absolutely loved it, right? Which I know is not nice because it was traumatic for her. But anyway, she was the people's princess. Cheryl Cole said, like, when Piers Morgan asked her what her relationship with Ashley was like, she said it was very calm, very nice and relaxing. And obviously, this is years ago, so me and my friend were young. And I remember my friend saying, oh, that just sounds bad, that would be the last feeling I'd want in a relationship, for it to be calm. Now she is with her partner, obviously, I mean, how many years ago was that? Again, 15 years ago. Now she's with her partner and she feels so calm, so safe, and she probably can't even remember that she told me that, but obviously I remembered it. And now when she first got with him, she's like, I just feel so safe when I'm with him, and everything is so calm and relaxing. And I was like, we've really come full circle here. We're not looking anymore for the fireworks and the drama. And I do think that's the thing. If you were with somebody and you feel safe and just relaxed, that's one of the biggest signs that you're with somebody that's right for you.
100%. Really is one of the biggest signs. And
Yeah.
notice how you feel when you're not with them as well. And
Mm,
it could be
yeah.
that we're still dealing with an insecure attachment, and that's great information, right? It's information for us to get curious about. Okay, even though they are showing up in the best way, and I feel safe and calm when I'm with them, but when I'm not with them, I'm feeling anxious and afraid. That's when it's like, maybe there is an anxious attachment,
That's
and
a really good point.
I've had a few clients that way as well, because with anxious attachment, we feel safe as long as they're close. As long as I'm with them, as long as I'm hearing from them, I feel safe. I feel calm. But when I'm not hearing from them, when I'm not with them, that's when I feel anxious. So note how
Yeah.
you feel when you're not with them as well. So it could be the anxious attachment, or it could be that they are also on the insecure side as well. If they're not responding, or you don't know where they are for days.
Now you've spoken about being in an emotionally abusive relationship
Yeah.
before. Is that
Mm.
something you're open speaking about?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
So from what I gathered from the post, you made the decision, you ended that relationship. And actually, when I saw the post, it was Christmas time, and you wrote basically about something about the Christmas holidays, like bringing up these things. And I broke up with my ex, we're back together, so I broke up with my boyfriend Christmas time as well. I read that and I was like, there is something about Christmas time. I don't know what it is. But yeah, what was that relationship like? And how long was it for as well?
It was for 8 years. I
Oh,
met him when I was
really?
15. Yeah. Met
Right.
him when I was 15. And it was just classic teenage love, if you will, falling head over heels with each other. He was from Swansea, which is about an hour from Merthyr, where I'm from in Wales. So we only saw each other once a week. So it was like this intensity, like I just couldn't rest until I saw him. So, I think for the first 3 years of our relationship, it was like that. which meant that I started to become quite codependent. I unfortunately lost all my friends. I don't have many friends back in my hometown anymore because of this reason, because I didn't prioritize them. I said no to going out with them because I wanted to make myself so available for this person. And I only wanted to hang out with him. And when I did hang out with my friends, I just wanted to be with him. I didn't really want to be with my friends. And of course, my friends felt that. And they just
Yeah.
started to gradually stop inviting me out. And same in uni. So this is an interesting thing because I know that we went to university together. He didn't like that I went to university. He actually broke up with me because I went to university. He was so
Oh,
threatened by me going to uni because
yeah.
I don't think he even graduated from college. He
Yeah.
barely, passed high school. So for him, I was moving up in the world, if you will. I was getting,
Yeah.
educated and making a better life for myself, whereas he was so threatened by that. So he broke up with me. And I just remember feeling such a shell of myself. I put on so much weight and I was just couldn't move on. And I was so desperate to get back to him. And already this loop is starting to create, which is what I call intermittent reinforcement, which means that they will make you feel so bad about yourself and have low self-worth. And then they'll break up with you and then they'll make you chase them. They'll make you beg them to get
Mm.
back with you because the experience you go through is so intense because of the abandonment wound that we have. I had an abandonment wound. All I could think about was getting back with them, even though I knew deep down that this isn't a healthy relationship. I didn't know any better. I just didn't know any
Yeah.
better. I was so sure that this is my person, and all I needed to do was get back with him. So this went on for years, and then I was 21, graduated uni, and I bought a house with my money, and he blackmailed me into putting his name on the mortgage. He said that if I
Oh
didn't
my
do that,
goodness.
he wouldn't contribute to the house at all. So it was almost like this. I had no assertiveness about me. I just did everything that he said. And I made excuses. I was like, well, it's going to be our house and we're going to have a family together. And I guess whatever's mine is his. And da, da, da. He didn't consider anything about what was best for me. It was all about what was best for him. And he didn't contribute to the house in any way, to be honest. I was, quote unquote, the breadwinner while he was unemployed. And I paid for everything, everything. I paid for all the decorations and the food and the bills while he just sat around all day playing games. And when I
Oh.
talked about this around Christmas time, I was talking about it on my own podcast. And I'm like, looking back, I'm like, what the hell? Why did I do that? I was
Mm.
such an ambitious, confident woman. I put up with that crap for so long. I feel like I was just so angry at him for not being the person I wanted him to be. I was so wrapped up in the vision and the fantasy of how this
Mm.
relationship was going to go, and he wasn't meeting it. The Christmas thing was interesting because it was our first Christmas in our house. And again, I had the vision, I had the fantasy of how our first Christmas was going to be like living together. And he didn't want to celebrate. He didn't understand, and he would laugh at me when I wanted to decorate the house and put up a tree.
Oh,
And I decorated the house all by myself because he didn't want to do it. And long story short, I just had the worst Christmas of my life. And that was the cherry on top for me. I was like, I just cannot be with this person anymore. Like, no more excuses. I don't care how much
yeah.
time I've invested in this person and relationship. I'm done. And I feel like sometimes we have to allow ourselves to get to that space. Even though we
Uh-huh.
might know deep down that this isn't our person, this isn't the relationship that we want long term, but we just can't seem to get ourselves to leave, something will
Yeah.
tip you over the edge. Now, it's up to you whether you want to wait for that, but a lot of us do, because, like I said, we have to get to that point where we are in like a I'm done phase. Like, I cannot go on any longer. So,
I've spoken about that before, about like being a little bit kind to yourself because sometimes I think honestly, especially as women, sometimes you kind of know there's a seed planted that you're going to break up with somebody, and it can take up like a year, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, wherever, but it can take a long time. And then I think sometimes after you've broken up, you can think, because I've had this, you can think, I wish I'd done that a year ago. I knew then. But you've got to be kind to yourself, because a year ago you just weren't ready to leave. And sometimes that happens, and that's okay. I left a relationship before, like a few years ago now, before I was ready. It's like I knew he wasn't the
Mm.
one, and I left it. And it was a nightmare, because we ended up getting back together on and off for ages and always keeping in touch, because I just didn't think the relationship hadn't run its course. And sometimes, unfortunately, it does just need to get to a point where you know it's done, and sometimes where you both know it's done, and then you can move on. So definitely need to give a bit more grace to ourselves. Also, I love when I see like older people, they get remarried, they get divorced, they start over. I think at our age, we almost put so much pressure on it, because there's this big thing of get married in your 30s, and you have all these timelines. So I think we're a bit more stressed about time, how much time we spent in a relationship, how much time we've wasted in there, etc. But
Mm.
I actually think as you get older, when you look at older people get married in their 60s and start over. Like, it really, really doesn't matter. I'm trying to
Yeah.
de-stress with time, because people start over at any age.
100%. And like these new beginnings and starting over could be such a beautiful catalyst to you completely transforming your life. That's how I moved out to Thailand,
Hmm.
because I went through that really bad breakup and I learned so much. And I remember thinking, what a waste of 8 years, but it wasn't. It was quite the opposite. I learned so much about myself, and it gave me it was like this catapult into me starting to travel and starting to live life on my terms, because we did everything on his terms for so long. All of a sudden, I had all this space. And at first, of course, I freaked out and I was anxious and I didn't know what to do with myself, because I didn't know how to be single. But in time, and that's
Yeah.
the thing, we need to be patient with ourselves as well. We need to give it time. I started to travel and I had this like incredible trip to the US, which really opened my eyes and my mind to the world. And then I thought, right, I'm just going to book a one-way ticket to Thailand and go live out there for a bit. I didn't mean to come out here for 10 years. To be honest, my original plan was to come out for 6 months and then move to Australia and have the dream life there.
Yeah.
But, when we allow life to unfold and not try to control too much, it really does guide us the way. But yeah, after 10 years, I've decided to make a move back to the UK. So that's probably the most scariest, exciting decision I've made in a long time.
Do you feel just as scared coming back home as you did going?
I feel more scared, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah,
So,
because when I decided to move out to Thailand, of course I was scared, because I've never been to Asia before in my life, and I was going on my own. And I'm like, but
mm,
I was just in a place, well, I still am in a place in my life, but back then I was so excited about this new chapter and this unknown. And I was just so sure that everything is going to be so amazing, and it has been. And I still have this feeling when I decided I'm going to go back to Wales for a bit. And I have this feeling, the same feeling, that everything is working out, everything's going to be fine. There is excitement there, but I don't really know how to live in the UK. I'm so used
mhm.
to living in Asia and the Eastern way of living and the culture here. And at the times where I have visited the UK, I have struggled, to be honest. I have struggled, and it is reverse culture shock. So,
Mhm.
yeah, there is a little bit of fear there. There is, but
So
I'm sure
what
I'm
what
going to
made
adapt.
you? You will, of course. But what made you decide to come back?
My family is a big one. I'm a big family girl,
Yeah.
and I have lots of little brothers, younger brothers, and I feel like I'm missing out on them a lot. And
Mhm.
they're shifting from being teenagers into young adults now, because there's a bit of an age gap. And I'm so close to them, and I want to be part of their lives a bit more.
Mm.
And I feel like it's not so much like I want to return to the UK, but my time in Thailand is done. It feels complete, like the chapter has come to an end. Everything that I've come here to learn and to grow, and I've learned so much. I've become a completely different person. Hence why I think everybody should do it. Everybody should travel and live
Mhm.
abroad or just have an experience abroad because it really does change your life. It really has changed
Mm.
mine. And it's almost like God is like, okay, you're ready. You're ready to come back now. You're ready to take all that you've learned and experienced back to Wales. And yeah.
I
And
love that, and I find it's kind of it's something that you can't write. I think it's just a thing of like you follow your intuition. Like for whatever reason, you felt like it was Thailand. You know, you could have chosen it anyway,
yeah.
but you went to Thailand, and now your intuition is telling you that the time is done there, and you've got to move back. And I just think that I talk about intuition a lot, and like you get feelings because I think they're
Mm,
so fascinating because nobody's telling you what to do. You haven't got a plan, but it's just like something you feel. Like you
yeah.
know that now is the right sorry, is the right time to come back. And when you've got that gut feeling, it's 100% the right decision. And it'll be great when you hear and work out. And yeah, I
Mm,
love those things. And I think I always encourage people to listen to their guts because
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's just an
Especially,
intuition.
especially as women, our intuition is
Hmm.
always right. Like we're very intuitive creatures more than men.
Yeah.
And if like in a relationship, if it didn't work out, how many of us say like, I kind of knew it though. I kind of knew it, because we did kind of knew
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
our intuition was trying to tell us this isn't right, that this isn't our person. And it's the same with anything in life, whether it's a career, a city, a
Hmm.
relationship, where if our intuition is starting to give us a cheeky little nudge and be like, yep, this is it, or no, this isn't it anymore. But it can be really hard to follow it because it's so soft and because it doesn't make
Mm.
sense. And we're always trying to make sense and we're trying to lead with logic and make plans. But following the intuition with no plan is almost like absurd. How many, like my family being one of them, they're like, well, what's your plan? I'm like, well, I don't know what my plan is. I'm just following my feeling. And
Don't
for them,
ask
it's
me
like,
these questions.
you must be crazy to just follow your feelings. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, because yeah, people don't do it.
No, they don't.
Yeah,
They don't until they have a plan. And again, it comes back to that safety. If when I have a plan, I feel safe to move forward with this. And yeah, I stopped living like that. I've stopped living the conventional way when I left Wales, to be honest. And I
mm,
do my best to follow my intuition, even though it may take me some time. Because if I'm honest, I started to feel this way last year. But
yeah,
I was so afraid to admit it because my life here in Thailand is so good. It's so
mm,
good. Like, why would I want to give this up?
yeah,
And we can feel this way sometimes in relationships. If we're with a good man, why would I
mm,
leave this relationship? Like, I must be crazy because he's so good to me, even though we know deep down that even though he's a good man, he's not our man. He's not
yeah,
the right man. But we're
yeah,
so afraid to step away from something that quote unquote is good. And I feel like that reflects the last relationship I was in, actually. He was such a good man and we were so good together. But there were
mm,
some things missing. There were some values that weren't quite aligned. And I ignored it and I ignored it. And it got to the point where my soul, my intuition would not allow me to ignore it anymore. And it starts to show up in the body. Like might start to become a bit unwell. You might start to be sick all the time, or you
mm,
start having health complications. Something will happen in your body if you're not listening. And
yeah.
that's a guarantee because the body wants you to listen and it will slow you down.
And that comes up on my TikTok a lot. I think I've mentioned that before, where you see girls if their skin is playing up or yeah if they get unwell. Obviously, if you're in a relationship and you've got spots right now, done it doesn't mean you're in a bad relationship, but yeah, I do feel like that your body. Oh, it's like what we said before as well. If you're constantly feeling like anxious and on edge, it's definitely not a good sign. Was your last relationship in Thailand? Did you meet somebody there?
I
Yeah.
mean, my last three relationships were in Thailand.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is dating different there, or are there lots of? I suppose there's lots of travelers there as well. Anyway, so you probably meet people quite easily.
Yeah, there's a lot of expats here, a lot of digital
Yeah.
nomads. I haven't dated a British man since my first relationship. My first boyfriend was Welsh, and since then they've been all over the world,
Oh,
really.
same.
My first Welsh boyfriend, I literally said to myself, I am never dating a Welsh boy again. Sorry to any Welsh boys that listen, but when you have a bad first one, unfortunately, they ruin it for the rest of them. I was like, I'm not doing this again.
So true.
Everyone asks me like, "What's the dating scene back in Wales now?" I'm like, "Oh God, just."
Maybe it'd be different now because you're older and you
Oh, I
know.
don't know. We'll see.
So what's it been like dating different cultures then? Because I actually had a question
I
from one
mean,
of our listeners that she wanted me to try and get on somebody European and just like learn about different dating cultures. So haven't managed that yet, but maybe you can be my in.
Yeah, I've dated a German guy. I've dated Thai, dated a Nepali man, and my last boyfriend was Brazilian. So quite
Ooh.
the mix. I've been collecting
I
them.
don't know how it is, but you hear the word Brazilian, I'm like, ooh, hot.
Oh, oh, the
I think,
Latino energy.
yeah. Are there big differences that you found?
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
and American. Also, I've dated American when I was in America.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's cultural differences, and that's something that you have to navigate for sure.
mm,
Different religions, different
yeah.
values, different perspectives. So yeah, it's definitely something that you have to navigate. In my last relationship, what I felt was a friction that, and for like, not that we had to work past it, but it was just something for me to note, was that there was a difference in sense of humor. And I
Mm,
know that
yeah.
might seem quite small to a lot of people, but if you're British or Welsh, you will know that we love our banter. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
we have a particular way of speaking to each other that is funny and makes us laugh, and we have a particular sense of humor. And when someone can't or doesn't meet me there, because I do
Mm,
have quite the British sense of humor, and I fall flat, and I try to banter with this person and they don't get it and it goes over their head and they might think I'm either being rude, which is Americans, by the way,
right.
or
They
they
don't
just
get
don't
the
get it.
sarcastic. Yeah.
Yeah, the Americans always think that I'm being really rude, and it's not. It's not. I'm just banter. It's just okay. Or my Brazilian boyfriend would just look at me and he'd smile, and that would be it. He was just like. So I'm
Wow.
like, oh, okay. You don't really get this side of me. So again, it
Mm,
goes back to that intimacy thing. It's like I didn't feel
mm,
seen or heard in a very important value of mine, which is like playfulness. I think there needs to be an element of playfulness in relationships, and that's what I felt like I needed to make aware in myself and not ignore. And then with my Thai ex-boyfriend, I lived with his family for 2 years, so that was
oh
interesting living with
wow.
a Thai
Yeah.
family. But
Wow,
you know
you
what?
really you really got stuck in there. I love
Oh
that.
yeah, I wasn't mucking about.
I love that. Yeah,
So
what was
that was
that like?
interesting. I mean, funnily enough, it was very much like Welsh culture in a way where everybody does everyone, like the family does everything together. And I know that Welsh culture, like family is a big thing.
Yeah.
No boundaries. Like everybody's in each other's pockets and we go,
Yeah.
you got to know everything. But it was just so wonderful because I really was able to pick up the language very well. So I was able to really enhance my Thai language skills in a big way
Oh,
because,
amazing.
yeah, his mother and family didn't speak English. So I had to learn in order to be in the house and to navigate a relationship with his mother. And yeah, it's as long as you go into a multicultural relationship with an open mind, you have to have an open mind. It is
Yeah.
absolutely non-negotiable. If you go into a relationship and you want things done a certain way, or you're not open to knowing them and their culture and how they do things and how they see things, it's not going to work. And
Mm,
there's like this more effort that you have to make in understanding them, understanding how they were brought up, understanding their conditioning and how they see things. So for Thai people, for example, there's this big thing about losing face. If you if I lose face, like that's a big no-no. So if I say something humiliating, shall we say, about my partner in public, that makes them lose face, and that's a big no-no. And I remember doing that
Right.
once because I wanted to trigger him. I wanted to trigger him to cause a bit of drama, but I did it in public, and I did it around his friends, and he didn't. He was so mad. He was so mad
Yeah.
at me.
Yeah.
So
See, that's so interesting because I think in British culture, that's almost part of it. Like you make jokes at your partner's expense all the time, pretty much. You know, even in front of people.
yeah, you do. Like, it's like, oh, I've been trying to put him on a diet forever. Look at the belly on him. Right, that's
Yeah.
very British. But if you say that about like to a Thai person and you make them embarrassed, that's a
Yeah.
huge no-no. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's about knowing that and navigating it and being mindful. Yeah, yeah. I've got
Yeah.
many stories about cultural differences. Many.
Also, this is just my own thing here. I don't want anybody to think that I was making assumptions. When I said that there were lots of travellers there, I didn't mean that you could never have possibly dated anybody Thai. I just mean, I think sometimes if you move somewhere, and I've been thinking this, even like if you move to a different city with a different job, I think if you move somewhere where everybody, where there aren't many expats, basically, lots of people already have their lives set up and they already have their friends, and sometimes I think it's harder for them to bring somebody in because they've already got their lives set up. Whereas if you move somewhere where there's lots of expats, then generally it seems to be easier because everyone's kind of by themselves and they want to make friends.
It's such a different experience. It's so
Yeah.
different. Like my grandmother thinks that I'm living alone, which I am, but she thinks I'm alone all the time and I do nothing with my life because, you know, everyone in Wales is married with kids and friendships are kind of maybe a little bit lower on the priority list, if you will. And they think that I'm just this sad spinster with no life out here in Thailand. And I'm like, oh my gosh, far from it. I have to consciously schedule me time because I'm just constantly doing something. Yes, you're right. When there's people that are expats and they choose to live in a different country with no family, we become each other's family. So it's a friendship. It's a different type of friendship than I've ever experienced back in the UK. It's a
Oh,
beautiful
lovely.
type of friendship, and it's one that I
Yeah.
hope to cultivate. Coming back to Wales, I'm really hoping to cultivate those types of friendships in Wales.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in Wales now recording. I'm back at my parents for the weekend, so I still come back a lot. So just give me a message. I'll be around, no doubt. There's always a visit in the horizon for me back in Wales. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I've kept you for a long time. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been so helpful, I know, for our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing.
It's been so nice to catch up with you.
It really has, yeah.
And so
Because I mean,
easy.
you've listened to your podcast, and I always see your little clips as well. And I'm like, I just love this. I love the concept, you know, of your podcast. So I'm really happy to be here and to contribute and to meet with you again. It's so lovely to see you. All right, love. Well, I'll let you get on with your day.
Thank you so much.
See you
Thank
soon.
you. Thanks.
Bye.